My name is Myrtle Finley and I'm a project coordinator at Greater Manchester Youth Network. I am a youth worker and I am also studying for my youth and community work degree. I'm a long-time volunteer and have done since my early teenage years, and I am also a feminist. So I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you all these things. Originally I was going to focus my speech solely on my experience of volunteering and how that shaped my progression into my youth work role and into the career path I've taken. But as Simon's so eloquently said, she's spoken about her experience of volunteering, why it matters to her, and brought her own personal experience into it. So we also wanted to give some time to a discussion on the notion of feminism, particularly why feminism is important in relation to young women's lives today, and why it affects the reasons why we're here today. So I haven't made the mistake of assuming we're all of the same understanding and of the same opinion to a lot of the topics we'll discuss tonight, but I am sharing some reflections of my own experience and my own point of view. So I'd like to start off by telling a little story. Last Thursday I went to Macc in Stockport and said to the checkout assistant, "I'd like some gift vouchers please." "Is it for a man or a woman?" she asked. I hesitated. "Why?" I replied, and then she produced 3 gift card voucher wallets, a blue one, a pink one, and a third. To some this would seem like an everyday occurrence. Nothing out of the ordinary had happened, and it was a fair question to ask. Herein lies the problem. What inadvertently happened here was that access to something as insignificant as a folded piece of cardboard was to be decided through a colour-coded category system. The decision to which colour would be given to me would be based on the gender of the recipient. I fear that if I had told her that it was for my niece, she would have said, "So the pink then?" Often what happens in society is that we get stuck in realms of thinking and ways of behaving which we base on single characteristics of people. What this can mean in reality is that we limit the possibilities for some people while providing more options for others. I experienced another example of this colour-coded decision-making on Saturday at my niece's birthday party, where a little boy had been given a party bag with some fun things in and some birthday cake. He took out the balloon from the bag, looked disappointed, and said he didn't want it, he wanted to change it, he didn't like the colour. The balloon was pink. I asked him, "Won't it be the same type of balloon? Does it matter what the colour is?" And his mum chipped in saying, "Oh, you can't have the pink one. Shall we see if there is a blue one or a green one instead?" We all may have a favourite colour and other colours that we're not too fond of, but I don't think, as these examples may show, there's such a simple explanation for what is occurring. We're all influenced by the shapes, designs and colours of the toys and the clothes we see in shops. We're given guidance by our parents, rules by our peers that say what is right and wrong based on who we are and our personal characteristics. We see images and read stories in the media that don't show everyone in a fair, equal and open light. So what is the point? In the end, last Thursday in Matalan, my reply was, "I'll have the orange one." So what is the point of me telling you these stories? What am I getting at? Well, there are obviously much wider, more significant concerns and issues around equality and women's freedoms than the colour of a gift voucher wallet. But we mustn't overlook the smaller subtleties that form part of the bigger picture. Tonight we're given a spotlight to some of the barriers women face, such as freedom of choice, self-conviction and equal access to rights, services and opportunities. We're looking at how positive and meaningful change can happen and how we can all be inspired to move that forward and start in our own lives. Sadly, I can't claim to have read any of Virginia Woolf's work, but I came across one of her quotes recently and it stuck with me. It reminds me that often learning about the world and the inequalities that exist don't always happen as a result of big, life-changing, groundbreaking, eye-opening events, but the experience we have in our day-to-day lives, the snapshot of a conversation, the feelings we have at any given time, and the feelings we have when we think those moments over. Virginia, a prominent 20th century writer, said, "For a long time, Anonymous was a woman. I take her meaning to be that often the amazing things women do in the day-to-day are not recognised, that our achievements, our thoughts, our writings are not always recognised and utilised, but when they are, little or no credit is given. Rarely is it the case that women can't do certain things. The issue is more the opportunity that is given to us, and if we break from the norm and the traditions, we do something new, can seem odd or even threatening. Limitations can be placed on women's lives. We are socialised to behave and think in certain ways and deny us freedoms and choice over our own lives. An example of breaking away from some of these social pressures, as speaking out about change, was displayed in Malala Yousafzai's campaigning work. Some of you may know about Malala's story, but others may not. Malala is a young Pakistani woman who at the age of 14 was shot in the face after speaking out in support of girls' education rights. Despite this horrific experience, Malala has continued to raise her voice in support of this and to encourage young women's aspirations. I think we can all take inspiration from her story and think about the concerns of young women, and what we should think to ourselves is how can we support this more. I volunteer each year at a summer camp for young lesbian and bisexual women, and have attended for the last 10 years, having started out as a young woman there myself. Each year, despite the tiredness and the sore throat, I come away feeling reinvigorated and re-energised through the experience. And this is because the young women I meet, the eclectic, diverse young women who've travelled from far and near to share their stories, are given time to this women's only space, which is so rare and so valued. And the homophobia, biphobia, misogyny, sexism that they experience would give anyone thought to not bother, to not try and promote change. But what I take away from that is that these women are strong, and young women are strong, and can do many successful things. So understandably, with all types of ideologies and ways of thinking, such as feminism, there will be little things that we all need to figure out for ourselves and where we place ourselves in relation to them. However, what I would ask you to think about is what has shaped your feelings today? Why do you think and behave in such a way? And if you're ever asked why you're a feminist, consider this a reply: why would I not be?